steady. Are you ready? Are you ready? What's going on? Do we need copyright for me to sing?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't. We aren't charging tickets to get in this place, so we can sing whatever we want.
Yet.
I said yet.
Yet. we need to do an Inner World live on ice.
However do you want me?
Yeah, we need to do a ice capades in a world.
I like that. I'm down.
Me and my homeboy Marcus, we always joke about that. We'll be like, Predator on ice.
On ice. Fireballs.
Like, who thought about on ice?
Capades. I don't know. I don't know.
Matlock on ice.
On ice.
Like, who said I'm going to take Spider-Man and put him on ice?
Yeah, I don't know. Something. It must have like hit with kids because like people be, I'm going to take my kids to the ice capades. And I'm like, why?
It was the thing when we were young. That was like that was all of our, what do you call them? Field trips.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In
Disney
Michigan?
on ice.
Anything. Then you get the little lightsaber. It works until you get to your card and it's broke.
Yeah. You talk about they don't build it like they used to. No, they never built
They
it.
never built it like that. They never did. How you doing today, brother?
Oh, dude, so good. Happy to be hanging out with you and our unis.
What's up, unis?
How are my people doing?
It's goal setting time for people.
It is time, man.
Get your 2025 goal setting.
Yeah, that's right. Be that person you want to be.
What's your take on goal setting?
They are so important, and they are something that I have, we've been in this game for a long time. So professionally, I've had goals every year, right? It's like, hey, these are the things we're going to be working on. And sometimes they've been detailed and laid out and well structured. And sometimes they've been kind of half-assed and like wallpapered. You know, every person in the team has the exact same goals. But really, if you're in that scenario, it strongly benefits you to be doing the same thing for yourself. And that's something I always want to get better at because it really makes sure that you're not just status quo, right? Are you just like, I'm here, this is great, I'm just going to keep on keeping on? Or
I'm going to cash my check.
Man, what's on that next hill? I think I want to go there. I want to check out what that view looks like.
Yeah.
And that's what goals are going to enable you to do is get to that next view.
Yeah. Goals help you feel better about yourself too.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of times, I think we go through ruts. Naturally, you're going to go through a rut, right? You'll have and you can think everything's fine. There's people who go through ruts. They get a big bonus. Stuff's going smooth, but then they're just like, time to make the donuts.
Time to make the donuts.
And without goals, you will get yourself in a time to make the donut scenario.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And that's just all about putting projects together, raising your hand to do things. When I was a wee lad in the sales game, people would talk about stretch goals.
Right.
I'd be like, what are you talking about, a stretch goal?
Right.
And as you get older, you figure out, and more tenured, you figure out a stretch goal is exactly that. It stretches you.
Yeah.
It's something that's out of your comfort zone, your purview, if you will.
Yeah.
It forces you to have to sharpen the sword a little bit and go do some additional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might have to end up working with some people that you didn't normally work with.
That's right.
So, and when you do that, I learn, and then you figure out like, when you work with somebody you haven't worked with, you're going to figure out, they know where a couple bodies are as well. Or they know how to circumvent this process. I don't know what you think.
Yeah. And we talked about it in another episode, right? Like there are organizations that, if you want to be a high level badass, they're going to make you go around the block and going to go, hey, you're going to do a stint here. You're going to do a stint there. I mean, we do it with doctors.
They go to trash cans. These are where the trash cans go.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You need to see, like, okay, so I had this conversation the other day. People that have never seen anything outside of their own hometown, their own home state, their own home country, it scales up infinitely. They are infinitely less able to see things from other perspectives, whether that's a person, a place, a scenario. And so if you want to be, well-versed and you want to have different viewpoints and you want to be able to understand different people, cultures, scenarios, you have to step outside of where you are right now, whether that's physically or mentally. And so by doing and experiencing these things, you've got a much better head on your shoulders to be able to have those decisions and to be able to accommodate different scenarios.
Yeah. I'm teeing you up. Why do you think people don't want to create stretch goals?
It's like a crucial conversation. It's like, what if I fail? Things are great right now. I'm getting my check, and if that's your goal and that's your scenario, fine, okay. And nothing against those people. I know cats who did the same exact job for 38, 42 years, and they were, that's their ambition, and that's fine. But if you've like, man, I feel down on myself and I wish I was making more or doing this, and you're not doing anything to get there, then you're the problem.
Yeah. And you're just looking for that basic check, and that's it. You know, a lot of people don't create stretch goals because they say, if I don't hit it, then I'm going to lose out on some of my bonus.
Right.
And you don't want to live like that.
No,
you don't. You want to put a stretch goal in there and stretch yourself to figure out how to get there.
Exactly true.
Go through your Andy Dufresne, if you will. Andy couldn't just break out of prison the normal way. You know what I'm saying? He had to chip away for years. So it's like, if you got something bigger on the horizon for you, then it's critically important that you put an obstacle course in front of you.
Yeah.
Right. What are these things people do? Tough Mudders, Spartan races.
Right. Yeah.
All of these things. And it's like, okay, I'm going to willingly go into this scenario where I'm going to make it tough on myself. But at the end, there's a medal, there's a victory, there's a T-shirt. I did the Tough Mudder. I mean, your wife races. There's I ran 100 miles. You know what I'm saying? So you have to treat the job like that as well, especially if you have aspirations to go up.
Exactly. And our physiology and our chemistry are designed to benefit from that, right? We get that dopamine when we check a box, right? We get that dopamine when we succeed and close out a goal. So our brains literally want and need it to get that sense of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. You do. And, most people are in the mode of setting their goals now. The problem is I think historically what makes it tough on people, and I talked to some people about this recently, goal setting time and performance evaluation time is usually right around the same time.
Correct.
Right? Which if you got 10 people, you're just trying to get through your performance evaluation.
It's a bitch.
Which is a bitch on wheels. And going downhill backwards on fire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Not only do I got to tell these people whether they did good or bad, I gotta also tell them what they're doing for the next year.
Yeah. So for those of you who have done that and you feel like crap now, learn the lesson, right?
Yep.
So start chipping away at them earlier. Don't have to write 10 performance evaluations over the course of 2 days. Yep. It's the laundry effect, right?
Yeah.
Do one little load every now and then versus wait until all your clothes get dirt. You're going to hate it.
Well, yeah. And it's twofold, right? I tell my boys all the time, right? It's like doing the dishes. It's like, oh, well, if they stack up, not only is there more dishes and will it take you longer, they're also harder to do because they've just been sitting there with the food sticking on them, right? The longer you go without thinking about what did I do and what have I accomplished, the less information that you have in your brain, because it's just going to leak out, right? So it's a lot easier for those of you that have gotten to the end of the year and are, doing your evaluations or doing your goals, and you're like, what did I do this year? Or what did these people do this year? It's easy to go, oh, I don't know what I did. And then you start looking back at it and maybe you have some epiphanies, but,
right.
There's a lot of things that you can do in place, right? So have a notebook or keep all of these things in your calendar so that you can go back and go, oh yeah, that was that thing that I worked on. And damn, I did pretty good at that.
Yeah. I call it POB, pat on back.
There you go.
Right. Pat on back. Even if you got emails, if emails come in and they're like, oh, Richard, you did such a nice job here. Take that and save it, right? Move it.
Yep.
Save it. And you should have that on all of your people. The easiest thing you can do is just create a file, a Word document on all of your people.
Yep.
Put it in a folder, right? Michael Myers. Michael, you did a lot of killing.
You did a lot of stabbing.
You did a lot of chasing. One got away.
But man, your cardio is so much better.
Bro, you are just on it. But you keep that. And then, the hard part is like now thinking about the new year, right?
Yep.
And setting goals. Because a lot of people, the easiest pathway is to be like, hit your number, whatever it is, right? If it's a sales number,
yeah.
If it's a quality control number,
right.
Whatever. If it's like episodes, there's somebody that's got to crank out episodes, right? Or anything.
An analytic performance measure.
Something. And when you have a multifaceted team, you want to think about those goals in terms of strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use it in terms of sales.
Right.
Because that's what we're connected with. And then we got a lot of unis that they got to go out and throw on a suit. They got to throw on scrubs. They got to throw on something to try and go and pull in the bacon, if you will.
That's right.
When you got a team of 10 people, obviously the number is going to be a part of it. So hit your individual goal.
Yep.
But then if you got somebody who is who's a whiz on the competition, make it a goal for them to keep the team updated on competitive threats, right? If you've got somebody that is a whiz, like the best driver, right? For our people in winter, cold states, what have you.
Yep.
Give them a goal that's going to keep your team safe. All right, guys, it's that time. Everybody needs to go and check their tires. We need to do this. You need to do an assessment. You need to make sure they wrote. Use everybody's strength and associate that with a goal, because a lot of us, we just say, okay, your goals are based upon you hitting a number. You can't just do that.
Right.
You got to give somebody a little something extra. Right.
Oh yeah. Well, and that works both ways too. And you've talked about this before. If you've got somebody who is struggling in something and it's not, and you're not, it's not, and everybody else is doing okay, put them in charge of that too. Like, kind of throw them in the deep end a little bit. Be like, hey, now you need to do this. And now you're going to teach everybody how to do this, because you might learn something more about yourself and get better. So it works in many scenarios.
Yeah. And we talked about this before. If you get a goal, right, it's okay to negotiate it. It's okay to say it's okay to be like, well, do we have, I can't climb Mount Kilimanjaro in Birkenstocks.
Right.
So are we equipped properly to traverse, this mountain? Do we have the tools in place to get this done? So always do that, and don't just blindly accept them.
No.
Goals are a negotiation.
Exactly. Am I allowed to bring in some extra help to work on this? Do I have a little extra budget to automate some of these tasks? It's like, which one can move, right? Because something can always move. It's like, okay, how about instead of 100,000, we do 90,000. No, no, no. The goal is 100,000. Okay. All right. That's the rigid. So now
Mm-hmm.
what else can I change that can help me get there?
Mm-hmm. Can I have a taste of your beverage to wash down this Ahuna burger?
Mm.
Huh?
Yeah,
Right?
baby.
Yeah, so it's we're in that place right now. And I always try and create the goals before the end of the year.
Oh, for sure.
That's the best way. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't, because
No.
what's happening at the end of the year?
Talking about what, there's you got to make plan and finish what you did. And
It's the
so,
holidays.
yeah,
You're trying to do everything in between. But that's when you want to start jotting notes on
yes,
your people and say, like, oh, you know what, Rick, I need you obviously to hit your number, but I'm going to need you to assist me with the finances of the team.
exactly.
Because sometimes you're the leader, but sometimes there's somebody better on your team that can work, they can better work.
Yeah.
Do you hear Freddie?
No.
I'm like, is that you?
Freddie, come on the show, baby. Let's go.
But no, sometimes you got people on your team that have better skill sets than you.
Always. Well, and let's
Right.
talk about that a little bit more, right? So
Yeah.
if you've got a team of 5 people,
Right.
and you've got a team number, right? Or a team
Right.
goal or a team
Right.
milestone. Rather than just say, okay, this is what we have to do, and just figure it out. It's just like you're saying, like slice it down and
I
say,
love where you're going.
okay, this part, you're going to attack this part because you're really good at, and this account or these people, and this is a big fish, and boom, let's slice that up. So break it
Right.
down into subtasks and keep the expert on those tasks. But that's also the good point where you can say, all right, your lead and your backup. And the lead is the person who kills it. The backup is the person who's struggling, right?
Who needs help.
Who needs help. So now it's like, let's marry you guys up. Let's do you. And so now everybody has a primary goal and everybody has a secondary goal. And their primary goal is where they kill it. And their secondary goal is where they need help.
Yeah. And I like it. I like what you're saying. And I think a lot of times a leader's ego gets in the way.
Oh, so much.
Because what you want to do is just, I have our goals for the year and I'm laying them down for you. Instead, get a couple of them.
Yeah.
And get the team together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use a nice analogy. You ever get to a restaurant and you're seeing them have their little rush meeting?
Yeah.
It's the best. It's the best for anybody team, because I used to be like, hey, get over here and give me a drink. But they're having their pre-meeting. And you know what they're doing in their pre-meeting? Okay, we've got the halibut special. Make sure you're pushing it. Right? We're running low on prime rib. Offer this. Right? We've got a part. So everybody's sort of getting an idea, and then people are chiming in and saying, well, what if we don't have this? We can do this. So a lot of times, even if a goal is handed down to you and it's a non-negotiable, by pulling your team into it and saying, okay, we got 4 goals. How are we going to hit goal number 2? Let them tell you. Because they're the ones that's out there, and they might be like, well, 60% of this is going to come from 2 of these people.
That's right.
So if we give them the resources for that, I can help with goal number 1 and number 4.
Totally.
Right? Does that make sense?
Totally.
But if you're just handing them down, not giving people any insight into it or saying, how are we going to do that? In a lot of cases, you're a hiker, a climber. Sometimes you might have to go in separate ways for the goal.
Yeah.
You guys go get water. We're going to sit here and cut this deer up. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to go do that. And then that's how it works for everybody.
For sure. I mean, there's so many layers to it, right? It's like, all right, I've got a group of people and I've got this goal. Hey, this is the number. This is the goal. This is what we need to do. What do you guys think? Any suggestions before? I've got some ideas and, but what do you guys think? Kind of like if you've got a team and it's like, all right, what do you guys think that our mission statement should be? If you get that buy-in You're not fooling people into coming up with their own ideas, but you're giving them an investment and ownership, and they're just so much more excited to do that. It's probably going to be the same things that you would have said, but now because it came from them, they own it and they feel like, oh, this is my baby. I'm going to make this the best it could be.
It's not being pushed. It's not being shoved down my throat.
Exactly.
And I can be like, you wash dishes better than me. I'll handle the sweeping and the vacuuming.
That's right.
Right. We all have to do something. But if you allow your team a little bit of input, they'll get it versus you just showing up and telling them to put it in there. Now, go ahead. I was going to make a point. I don't want you to lose your thought.
No, I won't forget. Make your point.
You can't just set goals and then don't touch them to the end of the year.
No. You have to be re-examining them quarterly at least.
At least you got to be like, how are we trending?
Right.
Where are we going?
That's right.
The Japanese do this thing, and it's called Ninkei, Shukei, Chokei. And it's basically like, what's our plan for the year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, at the quarter mark, how are we doing?
That's right.
At the half year mark, how are we doing? Do we need to change it? Are we trending upwards? Are we trending downwards? But they're consistently figuring out how close are we to their goal. Okay, we said we were going to drive from Florida to California. We said
my analogy.
We're going to take this many days. We're in Albuquerque already. What day do we think we're going to get there? You know what I'm saying? Or we spend a lot of time in Tennessee. So I think that is a great way for us to look at our goals as well. Because once you do that, and I think this folds into personal goals too. A lot of people are always trying to do something physically. Right.
Yep.
What our country is our country is our country, but it's a $1 billion industry to try and get people to lose weight. So people like to start, but as soon as, if you don't have a 50-pound weight change, then people are like, oh, whatever, I'll have a coffee cake. Right. They just fall off.
Yep.
So this is a way for you to like check in with yourself more.
Yeah, I liken it to cars are the perfect example of it. I'm going to go on a 500-mile road trip. Can you imagine going on a 500-mile road trip and your car had no gauges?
Zero.
It didn't tell you how fast you were going. It didn't tell you how much gas you had. It didn't tell you what time it was. It didn't tell you if you had no oil pressure. It didn't tell you if you were overheating. Now
this
imagine
this sounds like a Mr. Beast experiment.
That's
I
right.
like it.
So now imagine trying to do that goal, and you never got to look down at those gauges and go, okay, we're doing pretty good. We're running low on self-esteem. Maybe I better throw in a team building exercise or something fun to boost that morale. Or oh man, we're only about halfway there, but I realized that we got, 3/4 more to go. Ooh, maybe I better add some resources over here or over there. So think of your team as and think of them and view them as a dashboard of like, okay, what is it going to take to get to that destination?
Well said. Because if you don't, you'll wake up mid-year and your team of 10 now looks like a team of 7.
Yeah, or worse. And you'll have ran out of gas and you'll have burnt everybody out.
And then the 3 that you left are telling another 2 to come with them.
That's right.
So you got to stay on top. Those goals mean something when you come back and touch them. Now, I know people are busy, but if you're talking to your people, and if you're not, you got to have a quarterly meeting.
That's right.
With your people. Here are your goals. Here's the carrot at the end of the year for you. You hit these goals. I want to be able to give you a good performance review.
Always.
And then, well, not always do people.
Not always. You're right.
Yeah.
I was trying to be optimistic, but you're right. I want to give everybody a good review.
It's a cold world out here.
That's true. That's true.
But yes. Those of us who are in the game the right way, you are correct. We want to try and give you a good performance review.
Yeah.
The thing I want to tell people, and I've said this a lot personally, listen, salespeople, they want 2 things. They want to know what's in it for them and how to get to it.
That's right.
That's it. They don't need all of this 20,000 foot view and we're the market leader or what's in it for me? Is it a cake? Is it a boat?
What's my commission, and when do I need to get it by?
Is it a trip to, San Juan?
That's right.
Whatever it is, right? That's what I want. This is what's in it for you. And now tell me the pathway to get there.
Totally.
More salespeople, more sales teams, more organizations would get so much more out of their people if they tell them that.
Oh my gosh, so much more.
This was in it for you. If you guys do this, like you take a risk.
Yep.
Put this out there. I'm going to throw a multiplier on this. If you guys hit this number, I'm going to throw a 3% multiplier on top of it. That'll so take this number and then multiply it by this and then do that. You guys do that. That's what I'm going to commit to you.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as, back in the day before we had GPS and all that. It's the exact same thing as you're driving down the road with your kids and you haven't set proper expectation. And what are you going to hear every 5 minutes from the back seat?
Are we there yet?
Are we almost there yet? And so, if you communicate and you say, okay, this is the plan, this is how long it's going to take us to get here, these are the rewards, and this is the scenario, it's like, oh, wow, okay, I know we're going to be here in about 12 minutes.
Right.
I am the same way to this day on a hike, right? Like I love having my workout planned, and I know exactly how far we're going. You and I were just talking about this the other day. We're going on an 8-mile hike. Until like mile 4, I'm kind of like, oh, all right, this is the hard part. But once I kind of get past that halfway, it's almost like euphoric. I'm like, all right, man, we're about halfway there. We're kicking ass. I already know what I got to go back through because I already went there. All right. And then it's like, it's mentally coasting, right? It's not, maybe the hardest part is at the end, but I know that. And I have time to wrap my head around that.
It's mental for people.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the bike, on the Peloton, I cut the timer off because I don't want to know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes I'm like, but then I cut it back on. I'm like, we're halfway there.
There you go.
Back when I used to run in Detroit, we've got mile roads, right?
Yep.
So it's like 10 mile, 11 mile. So if you run from 10 to 11 and back, that's 2 miles.
Is that where 8 Mile comes from?
That's it. It's miles, 7, 6, 5.
I didn't know that.
All of that, all the way up. And then you call it, some streets aren't, it's like a grid, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And some streets are actually named miles, 7 mile up to, I think, 13 or 14 mile. But then there are other named streets, Big Bear and different things like that. And you're like, that's actually 15 mile. That's 16 mile.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to your point, you run from 10 to 12 mile, you're like, okay, I got 2 down. Now just get back home.
That's right.
Turn around, get back home. You're going to be able to make it.
We straight.
There you go. Oh, I hit 11 mile. I got 1 mile to go. I'm home. So it's like, that was the best running. So your analogy, I think, is great in terms of, goal setting and being able to make it attainable and keep, once you keep a list of what you be like, I had a great Q1. Right. I had a great Q1. Okay, Q2. Now, so Q3, I got to make up for Q2.
That's right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they turn the timer off the entire time and they race and then they hope that they're going to get there. And you can't hit your goals off hope.
At no point throughout the year should there be anybody on your team that doesn't know where they are on that dashboard or on that roadmap, right?
You got to be able to share it with them.
They should all know, like, hey, you're sucking and you're killing it, right? There should not be any, we talked about this again, there should never be any surprises at the end of the year, whether somebody's going to make plan or make their goals or have a successful year. That's just not acceptable.
The only time that happens is when you've got an incompetent manager.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to communicate? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean,
that's it.
Sometimes, the goalposts get moved at the 11th hour, and that's out of your control. But for the most part, you need to know, like, hey, this is our goal. These are drawn in sand or drawn in stone, and you aren't, or you are making it.
Yeah.
The other thing, right, that I was going to talk about, I told you I wouldn't forget, is don't, you know, also you need to champion being a delegator, right? So you can't be an effective manager if you're just like, well, I'll take care of this and I'll do this. And then everybody's sitting around going like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Don't try and look like a superhuman.
No. I'm all for managers. I love managers who want to get in the trenches with their people, but you got to get in the trenches with your people, not be in the trenches above your people.
Extrapolate on that.
So, like, I'm in charge of this and I'm going to do all of this and I'm not going to ask for any help and I'm not going to do all of this because that's, you guys, you do this and this and I'll do my own hell up here. You're not in the trenches with your people. You're just in the trenches alone.
Mm-hmm. You're in the trenches. Yeah. You want to be beside them.
That's right.
You want to be locked arms with them. That's how it really works.
Yeah. I mean, look at like Band of Brothers or Forrest Gump or any of these kind of military movies that had, what we kind of say are inspirational leaders or commanders. They were right there next to their people, living through the shit at the same time.
In a foxhole.
Yeah, exactly. But still like hey, you go over here, you go do this. And now let's go.
Mm-hmm. How many times people have said that in the movie?
All the time.
All the time. That's a great segue for Pop.
Pop goes the weasel,
Pop goes the weasel. I want to start with my Pop goes the weasel.
You get to go first, bro.
You ready?
Right. I'm ready.
Dune, the Prophecy.
Oh, yeah. I've been wanting to get into that.
Have you seen that?
I watched the first episode. I think it's spicy.
Turn on your TV.
It's good. It's good.
That's that voice, man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you, but it's like 10,000 years before the folks that we see. And
that's right.
It is, you get a chance to see how the sisterhood was created, and it is good.
That's right.
It's only 6 episodes, but it feels like it's 6 episodes. It feels like 4 movies.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
And that voice, you see the introduction of the voice.
Yep.
Pull out your blade. Place it against your throat. Now rhyme it in. Bro.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody talking to you and telling you what to do.
And you can't. And
you can't stop yourself. You're like, what am I doing?
I'm doing what they're telling me to.
So you got a chance to see where that came from.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Dune, sir. I knew I would catch you with that one, because had you watched it, you would have been like holding it over my head. Like, have you watched Dune?
Why aren't you done with it? Yeah.
Oh my God.
You even call
Dune
yourself a
so
Dune
great.
fan? You're silly. What the hell?
Dune Prophecy on HBO Max, people.
Max. They're killing it, dude.
Listen, HBO Max and low-key Apple TV has some of the best TV on the planet.
I could live with just those two.
Bro, you put me on Dark Matter.
Yes. Oh, good.
Dark Matter?
I loved it. Blew my brain. Because that's like real shit. That's the thing, is it's like...
Bro, you're like, what?
Theoretically real shit.
Yes. I'm like, that's not Tropic Thunder, bro. This is and no disrespect, Tropic Thunder is a banger, but this is a well thought out show.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Dark Matter. And then now you mess around, and you get, for all my Dune fans out there, bro, you got it. This is good stuff.
Are you sensing a pattern here, though? Maybe you. So the pattern here is, and I've long said this: take an amazing book and don't fuck with it. Don't fuck it up and turn that into a movie or a series, because that's what Dark Matter was. An extremely loyal representation of an amazing book. The Martian, an extremely loyal representation of an amazing book. Mm-hmm. Dune, same thing. That's the pattern.
My problem is I don't have brain capacity for fiction.
True.
It's only, leadership books, coaching books, psychology books.
Oh yeah.
So I spent a lot of my time digging into stuff like that. trying to figure out how to deal with humans, right?
Yeah.
The more we can deal with humans, so I have mental capacity for that. If I tried to read Dune, I'd fall asleep on the first page.
See, I'm like that kid from Neverending Story, right? That's just how I grew up. Remember the kid in Neverending Story? He goes up.
It's been a minute. You kind of look like the dog right now, though.
The luck dragon. Yeah. Falcor. I'm Falcor.
Falcor. You Falcor.
Yeah.
Falcor. Ride.
But this kid, right? Like he goes into he's been getting picked on by these kids. He actually gets thrown in a dumpster and he goes and escapes into this old man's bookstore and he finds this like megalith book and then he takes it to school, but he's already late for class and he's just like, oh no, I can't go in there. So he goes up to this like crazy storage room and he's just like reading this like, fantasy book and it's just, that was kind of like me. You. That was kind of me as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, to go through the castle, turn to page 15.
Oh, yeah. Choose your own adventures. That was my jam.
To slay the dragon, go to page 75. You're like, I'll go through the castle.
That's right. My Pop Goes the Weasel is, dude, it gets better every single episode. The Pit. It is because,
I've been trying to watch it, but I was like, I don't know. I just feel like, how many hospital shows are we going to have?
Agreed. The problem was that for the most part, and by no means
they were unrealistic.
Unrealistic. And it pulls me straight out of it.
You stayed at a Holiday Inn.
That's right. By no means am I a medical expert, but I know enough so that when I see some of these shows, I'm like, that is the biggest sack of crap I have ever seen. And I'm not even an expert. So what is, so this is like the show where it's like all of my med people are like, whoa, that's realistic. And it's like, okay. And so I just think that that's about time. You know what's the funniest part about that is, before this show, the only show that I heard people consistently say was technically accurate, med show,
what?
Scrubs.
Saying elsewhere?
Scrubs. Yeah. As goofy and comical as that show was, I guess they had really
good.
Scrubs
is one of your favorites.
It's a great show. It's a great show. It is a great show. I love back since ER blew up, right? I love that.
Don't want no Scrub. Scrub is a guy can't get no love from me.
Hanging out the passenger side of his best friend's ride.
Trying to holler at me. Hey, that's a bop.
That's right.
That's a bop.
That's a bop, as we call it.
That's a bop. We call it a bop. Bop karaoke.
It's funny that, so it is now a little time for this or that. And it's funny because I had already picked this one, but we segued perfectly into this. You're going to read, I have air quotes up here. You're going to read a book. You're going to consume a book. Would you rather it be a physical book or an audio book?
Oh, yeah. I'm audio now, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah, I am. Because it's like it's the space. I feel like I'm trying to be more compact, and I used to be the guy to be like, show me the book in your briefcase. What are you carrying? Right. When I would train people. Now I'm like, I can listen to it on my phone.
Or in the car or whatever.
You can speed it up. You know what I'm saying? You can go back. And a lot of these, you can be like, oh, I actually want to see that. You can, print up, you can show the actual words and you can copy them and save them. So I've transitioned. What about you? Falcor wants to ride around with a book with a key and a lock on
it. Traditionally, I would have said the physical book. One, because it's like magnetic for me. So, having an issue sometimes staying on focus. If I'm listening to something on my phone, it's easy for me to get sucked in 8 different directions. But, and I'm going to steal this from my wife. I have had
my wife.
I have had great success in actually doing both. I have the physical book. I'm reading. Oh, thanks.
Hey,
thanks.
Yay. Opa.
Fireworks. And so I can read it, but I can also listen to it at the same time, or I can kind of do one or the other. And so that to me has been pretty good. Pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah, man.
I like it. So I'm going to do one for you real quick. This or that for you before we go.
Right. Yeah, let's go.
All right. Hot tub or cold tub?
Both.
It's this or that, fool.
I know. So, okay. So because again, this fits the theme of this episode perfectly. I would far prefer a hot tub, but I'm going to say cold tub because the benefits of a cold plunge are so huge, right? Like reduced dementia, inflammation, circulation. So I'm going to go cold tub because it's better for me.
All right. I want to see a video of you doing a cold plunge then.
You got it.
All right.
Yes, sir.
As always, my brother, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, my guy.
Peace.
Peace.